Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking back at our release time policy, and my question would be whether anyone has done anything to look at the course already, whether our curriculum supervisors have already evaluated that. In our policy, it says that the board and our curriculum supervisors are to evaluate the course. And so I would expect us to see something from those supervisors before we vote on this.
Dr. Wilson.
Thank you, Ms. Owen, Madam Chair. So upon receiving the course MOU, we then asked for the syllabi to go with any courses they were going to be proposing. I did put those back with Catherine Schultz, who is our social studies supervisor, probably because it's closest related when you look at that, and they are referencing several history standards for that course, and asked her to kind of look over the syllabus for additional insight, things she would ask for further clarification on. And so upon that, sent back to Mr. Shope to ask for additional detail be added to the syllabus, kind of taking into account what was included in the board policy and the state law in terms of what could be evaluated. I will say that the syllabus that we have does outline kind of clearly the objectives, the text materials that would be used. It outlines the grading breakdown in terms of where weights would be placed and how often that would occur within the lesson, or within the course, I'm sorry. And at that point, I mean, that's the level of evaluation that we have done. We haven't reviewed the text that would be used or anything of that nature, but really just looked at it more through the lens of, do we feel like this is a course that is substantial, worthy of credit? Again, trying to review it through that secular lens. We understand the purpose of the course and what it is fulfilling in terms of the elective, and feel that they provided enough information that we feel it is substantial, provides clarity to students that might be interested in signing up or not for that course, and but that's been the level of review that we've given to it.
Okay, let me say this another way. So what the policy says is that to decide whether one elective credit may be awarded for a student's completion of a release time course, the board and Knox County Schools curriculum supervisors are to evaluate the course neutrally, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So without hearing any kind of presentation of what has been specifically evaluated and how, I don't see that the board is currently capable of evaluating. So before Thursday, I would have an expectation that we would have enough information for us to be able to evaluate.
So happy to provide that evaluation. Are there specific aspects of the course that you would like more information on? Because I'll have to make a specific request back to Mr. Shope if you're interested in like exact materials or...
I would like to know exactly how our curriculum supervisors have weighed all of those pieces so that we can understand that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm asking this question more out of curiosity than anything. I know that we can't nor should we approve or not approve an MOU like this based on the provider. But I tried to look up some things about Anchor Learning Center, and I can't find anything online about them at all. Does anybody know if it's a new entity? I did look up Mr. Shope, and I just see him listed as an attorney in Farragut. But, I mean, is he?
It's new.
Yeah. Is there anything available to read more about them? I'm assuming if the class gets up and running, like parents and others are going to want to find information publicly about them. Does anybody, do we know? I didn't do a good deep dive on social media because I don't care that much. I'm just kind of curious. I know they don't have a website and stuff, but.
Yeah. May I?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to jump in there.
Yeah.
So they've been trying to get their ducks in a row and get all of this paperwork done, but and hire their teacher and that kind of thing. But so I'm assuming they will have those things. I'm assuming because they would obviously want students to be able to come to their class. So I would assume that would be forthcoming.
Yeah, just super fledgling at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Go on,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Horn.
Just a couple of questions. Mr. Dupler, given the law, would it be appropriate for the curriculum supervisor to evaluate the course any further than what's been provided on our agenda, as far as specific content, that sort of thing?
Thank you, Ms. Horn. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's kind of tough to determine, right? I mean, obviously, a curriculum supervisor can't dive deep into the material and critique the material due to the way the state law is based. So, but I can't give you a bright line as far as where that evaluation would cut off, other than it certainly needs to look, and I think Dr. Wilson talked about this, it needs to look like a high school level credit bearing course. So without diving deep into the subject matter, does the syllabus look like that? Is the grading, so a lot of what he described, but it sounds like Ms. Owen wants some more, like a written evaluation, maybe a little bit more information, which again, I can't tell you where that would cut off, just that, you can't start talking about the religious content as opposed to, does that really look like a course that's comparable to a U.S. history course, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, does the board have the same level of information for this class than we would have for other courses that we add, or, because at the same level that the administration is looking at that for, to be sure that they are evaluating the course as they would any other course, is the board doing that? So do we typically, I don't know that we ever get a syllabus for a class when we evaluate it. This syllabus actually includes the related standards, so I would assume we probably see that. But I'm just asking, when the board approves a new class, what level of detail is the board given?
That's a good question. Dr. Wilson?
Yeah, so the only thing I would say as a parallel to that would be if we're determining a special course, and by requirement of what has to go to the state, those are usually developed by a team of teachers or a teacher, and a syllabus is generally developed, objectives, those types of elements that would potentially come to the board, have to go to the state for application. That's probably the closest parallel. For things that exist that are part of just kind of the state catalog, I don't know that that information ever comes to the board for like English 1, English 2, those sorts of courses that are standard. But for special courses, certainly, because those courses are being developed by teachers and then there's an application process back to the state. Again, by virtue of the fact of kind of defining for the state, where does this fit into the social studies offerings and electives, because they will generally drive you back to electives that already exist if you're trying to create a special course that is essentially fulfilled by another one already in the state catalog. So that's kind of the general reasoning behind that, and generally what comes to the board. We have some special courses that are on the board agenda this month as well that are recurring, coming back for a reapproval, if you will, in that.
Okay, I just want to point out, and let's remember that this course in particular, parents have to sign that their kids are going to take it. I mean, this is more of a parental, a parent's rights issue, honestly, because it's allowed by by state law that students can take advantage of this, and so I think we have to be really careful of trying to dictate or get too deep into what the content is as far as the specifics, because that's really protected under the state law the way I read it. So, and I think we have to be sure that we're evaluating it as we would any other course.
I would agree with that. Ms. Owen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not asking for additional pieces to be evaluated. I know how our other curriculum is evaluated. That's been explained to us multiple times. I don't know how this is being evaluated, and so I would like to know that so that that can be part of my decision on whether to approve this or not. In our policy, that's what's supposed to happen, and in the law, that's what's supposed to happen. So I would like our administration to provide for us information regarding how it has been evaluated so that we can also evaluate it with those criteria.